This letter isn't tucked away in any dusty archive. It's not whispered in the hallowed halls of universities. Even those who've spent their lives poring over the works of the great psychoanalyst Carl Gustav Jung dare not speak its name. It lives only in the shadows, in hushed exchanges behind locked doors, among those who believe that the mysteries of the soul stretch far beyond the grasp of science. Jung, the visionary who birthed analytical psychology, who gifted us the concepts of archetypes and the collective unconscious, who saw the soul not as a poet's fleeting muse but as the very pulse of existence. He faced the abyss of death and returned with a secret that could unravel everything we think we know. In the spring of 1944, Jung lay in a sterile hospital bed, his heart faltering, his breath fading. The doctors stood helpless as his pulse fell silent. For several agonizing minutes there was nothing, no heartbeat, no life. But in that deafening silence, Jung didn't slip into oblivion. Something unimaginable began. In a letter to a Swiss colleague known only by the enigmatic initials H.E., Jung poured out a confession that trembles with otherworldly weight. This letter, buried for decades, was unearthed only when H.E.'s grandson, in the twilight of his years, entrusted a fragile copy to a filmmaker chasing truths too vast for the screen. Jung wrote, "I was no longer bound to my body. I rose weightless above the earth. All that I was, my fears, my pain, my very name, melted away. Time ceased. I gazed upon a radiant blue sphere, glowing like a jewel in the void, a vision of earth that no camera would capture for years to come. It was my home, yet it felt foreign, distant, as if I were seeing it for the first time. And then I was pulled onward, into the unknown." What he describes next is enough to silence the staunchest skeptic, to make the heart pause in awe. He entered a realm beyond words, beyond imagination. "It was a temple," he wrote, "not merely lit but forged from light itself, pure, eternal, alive. In that sacred space I understood what we call consciousness is but a faint whisper, a pale shadow of the soul's boundless truth. There, in that radiant void, he met a presence. Not an angel, not a mortal, but something vast, ancient, and achingly familiar. It didn't speak. Words were too small for such a moment. Instead, thoughts flowed like rivers of fire and warmth, flooding Jung with a clarity that burned away all doubt. I was shown," he wrote, "that life is a forge, shaping not just the mind but the soul itself. Death is no final curtain. It's a gateway, a passage to a truth so immense it humbles the heart. Can you feel it? It's as if a heavy, ironclad door, rusted by centuries, is slowly creaking open, revealing a sliver of light too brilliant to bear." But Jung's journey wasn't complete. A distant voice, the doctors, called him back. He felt the crushing weight of hands on his chest, pulling him from that sacred realm. "I fought to stay," he confessed, his words heavy with longing. And then, a sentence that lingers like a ghost. "What I saw was no dream, no metaphor. It is a reality we are too frail to face." Why did he hide this from the world? Why not cry it from the rooftops? Jung knew the cost. In the rigid, skeptical 1940s, a scientist who dared speak of the soul's journey risked everything. His credibility, his legacy, his life's work. A single whisper of mysticism could have branded him a fool, a madman. In the letter, now locked in a private vault in Basel, he poured out his fear. "If I had spoken, they would have called me insane. But I was not unhinged. I saw a truth so raw, so blinding, it terrifies the mind and shakes the soul." Does that stir something deep within you? This isn't just a story. It's a cry from the edge of existence, a voice echoing from the other side, pleading to be heard. Jung believed he wasn't alone in this vision. He wrote that countless others have glimpsed that same realm but sealed their lips, afraid of ridicule, afraid of the weight of truth. He scoured ancient myths, the dreams of his patients, the sacred tales of shamans, and everywhere he found it, faint echoes of that temple of light. In a phrase he never dared publish, he called it the space between worlds. Was it a poetic flourish, or did he mean a real place? A thin, shimmering veil where life and death brush against each other? One passage in the letter cuts like a blade. I saw faces not of this life, yet I knew them as my own. Souls. One was my mother, her eyes heavy with unspoken love. Another, a son I never held. My thoughts were no longer memories of my days, but of my essence, stretching beyond time, beyond flesh. He called this state pure recognition. No words, no symbols, only a truth so absolute it felt like coming home. And then, something even more profound. Before he was torn back to his body, Jung was granted a vision of the future, a cascade of images, bewildering and vivid. At first he couldn't grasp their meaning, but later, in the dim glow of his hospital room, his hand trembling as he scribbled, he understood. It was humanity, decades, perhaps centuries from now. He saw a time when the boundary between worlds would fray, when the veil would grow so thin that truths once hidden would spill into the light. People will sense more, he wrote, see more, dream more. In that lies liberation, but also peril. When reality begins to unravel, not all will endure. Some will crumble under the weight of what they see. Others will rise, awakened, transformed. Is this a prophecy? A warning? Jung hesitated to share it, even thought to burn the letter, its truth too heavy for his time. But he spared it with a single command. Let it be read only when the world teeters on the edge. 80 years have passed. Are we standing at that precipice now? What did he see in that future? Why did his voice falter as he described it? Jung was careful, cloaking his vision in metaphor, as if to protect us, or himself. He spoke of a world drowned in light yet starved of shadow, then added, without shadow there is no depth, no meaning, no growth. He saw humanity stripped bare, every secret laid open, every mystery unraveled, death itself no longer a riddle. But in that clarity, he wrote, something vital was lost. Pain, struggle, the weight of loss, they were gone, but without them the soul grows fragile, weightless, unmoored. As if pain is the chisel that shapes us, as if without the dark, the dawn is just another empty light. Yet in that otherworldly realm, Jung tasted a peace so profound it defies our earthly hearts. He was allowed one question, and he asked, what is truth? The answer came not in words but as a vision. A towering tree, its roots plunging into an abyss of shadow, its branches ablaze with unquenchable fire. Truth is not a lesson, he wrote. It is growth through suffering, darkness embraced as holy, shadow woven into light. Do you feel that ache in your chest? This isn't mere thought, it's a spark, igniting something ancient, something you've always known but buried deep. But Jung couldn't stay. He pleaded, his soul crying out, let me remain. Earth is a crucible of fear, loss, and chaos. A voice, soft as a breeze yet firm as stone, replied, not yet. So he was dragged back, inch by agonizing inch, to the cold hospital room, to the sterile hum of 1944, forever changed. He didn't chase fame with this tale. He knew truth ripens slowly and hearts ready to receive it. Instead, he wove its echoes into his later works, symbols, archetypes, whispers for those who dare to listen. This letter is a key, not for the world, but for you, the seeker, the one who feels the pull of something greater. He closed with words that cut to the bone. When you stand before that threshold, they won't ask who you were. They'll ask how fully you became yourself. So, pause. Look within. Beneath the masks you wear, the fears you carry, the roles you play, who are you? What remains when the world falls away, when the husk of your life crumbles? Jung saw the answer. Are you brave enough to seek it? This experience shattered him, remade him. I returned, he wrote, but a fragment of me stayed behind. In the dead of night, he heard a call, faint, like a melody too vivid for dreams, too alive to ignore. He turned to ancient wisdom, alchemy, the mysteries of the Greeks, the secrets of Kabbalah, searching for traces of that radiant structure he'd glimpsed. But what haunts most is what he left unsaid. He spoke of a force in that realm, writing, "Not all beyond the threshold is light. There are watchers, sentinels, whose gaze pierces the soul. They do not judge. They test. They bar the way until you've faced your own truth. No talk of demons, no whispers of darkness, but of presences that stilled his heart. Not with fear, but with a reverence that shook him to his core." Returning to Earth, he realized, was no curse. It was a chance, a fleeting window to speak, to prepare, to light a path for others. "I am no prophet," he wrote. "I am a courier from the frontier of worlds." In the letter's final lines, scrawled as if his hand trembled with the weight of truth, he left a message. "If you read this, you've heard the call. It's soft, like a breath in the night, but it will not be silenced. If you follow it, you will be led. Do not fear." This isn't just Jung's story, it's yours, mine, ours. We've all felt it. A moment when the world cracks open. A grief that cuts too deep. A dream that clings like a memory. A presence in the silence when you're alone. Jung called it the invitation, the first trembling step on the path. Belief in the supernatural isn't the question. The question is, when that door opens, will you cross the threshold? At the letter's end, on a faded, fragile scrap, lies its most searing truth. Truth is not a word, it is a meeting, raw, unmasked, where all but your eternal self burns away. You holding these words in your heart, are you ready for that reckoning? Jung never spoke of this again. He wrote, taught, lived, but his true story was carved at the boundary of existence. Reading this, it feels as if the letter was written for you, not for a scholar, not for a friend, but for you, the one who found these words. What if it's true? What if a gossamer veil separates this life from a light so radiant it blinds, not with pain, but with truth too real to bear? Jung didn't preach. He whispered, "Find it yourself." The path is not in books, it's in the courage to live. 80 years have passed, yet the questions remain. Are we less afraid of death? Do we know ourselves more deeply, or are we lost, chasing shadows in a world of screens, noise, and endless striving? Jung warned, the veil will thin, and truth, the kind that frees, first scorches like fire. Those who've glimpsed their soul, he said, can no longer hide. A bell rings within, faint but unyielding, and it will not be silenced. Now let the silence fall. The letter ends, but you feel it, don't you? This is no ending, it's a beginning. The true journey lies not in the world outside, but in the uncharted depths of your soul. Jung cracked the door open. The path is yours. If your heart races, if you sit in stillness, you're already on it. Your age, your doubts, your beliefs, they fade in the face of this truth. If you seek, something waits, patient, eternal. Jung's final words echo like a heartbeat. The goal is not to escape death. It is to pass through and see who you truly are. Close your eyes. Breathe. Don't be afraid. Ask yourself, am I living as if my soul is immortal? Perhaps in this very moment, someone beyond watches, waiting, knowing. If these words set your heart ablaze, don't hold it inside. Share in the comments. Did you feel that fire too? Or leave a sign, a quiet mark for those who come after so they know they're not alone. If you choose to walk this path, press like. It's not a button, it's a vow, a silent cry. I'm here. I hear. We're all a little lost, but together we begin to see the light. See you at the edge of worlds.